Okay, this is Taonan paper 2 for preliminary examination 2022 for primary 6. Here I will be selecting only certain questions for this Taonan paper 2. Now for question number 2, the ratio of Amal's money to Bill's money is 5:3. Amal spends 1/3 of her money. What is the new ratio of Bill's money to Amal's remaining money? Okay, so let's record down first the ratio for Amal to Bill. So A:B, my ratio is given as 5:3. But because Amal spends 1/3, it's a bit hard to find 1/3 of 5 units. So we will try to find a common multiple of 5 and 3, such that when you multiply 1/3 by that units, you get a very nice number. Okay, so my LCM of 5 and 3 is actually my 15. So I will change this to make it 15. I times 3 for Amal's, and I must also times by 3 for Bill. So I get 15:9. Okay, this is my new ratio. Then because I want to find 1/3 of 15 units, means that you will get 5 units. So Amal got 15 right now. You minus off 5, you are left with 10 at the end. So Amal got 10 at the end. Bill, there is no change to his money. So my ratio will be 10:9. Okay. Now for question 3. Question 3 is actually find the area of the shaded triangle. Now for this question, if you want to find a shaded triangle, you have to box up your triangle first. This is a recap. So I will box this up. You can use a highlighter or darken your pen, outline the box. Now make sure that your box touches the 3 vertices of your triangle. See these sharp points of your triangle? They are called the vertices. So make sure that this box touches these 3 sharp points of your triangle. Okay, now we will label this triangle as A, the unshaded one. This is your triangle B, and this is your triangle C. So the idea to find your shaded triangle is to find the area of your box minus of your triangle A, B, and C. Okay, so if I want to find the area of my box, I count the sides of the box. This is a very nice square. So this is a 5 by 5 square. My square will be 5 times 5. Means that my square will be 25 units. Then I want to find area of my triangle A. Make sure you use the half times base times height. So half times my base is 5. My height is 3. I get 7.5 for my A. Now repeat the same thing for my triangle B. So half times my base is 3. My height is 2. I get 3 units square for my area of B. And then you repeat the same thing for my triangle C. So half times the base is 2. The height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The height is 5. So I get 5 units square for my triangle C. So once I get my 3 triangles, I will subtract from my 25. So 25 minus of my 7.5 minus of 3 minus my 5. Okay, so if I do my math, I should get my answer 9.5 units square. Okay. Okay, I will skip question number 4 because I think 4 is straightforward, the net of the solid. Question number 5, okay, I will go through this because it's on your algebra. Now, Chandra bought 7 stamps at n cents each. he paid with a $5 note. So how much change did he receive? Now, first thing you must be very careful is you look at your answer here. Your answer line here shows a dollar sign, which means our final answer must be in terms of dollar something. Okay, so don't need to change this to your cents. Rather, change the N cents here to your dollars. So if you recall back your money, okay, so if you recall your money, your $1 is equivalent to your 100 cents. Which means that if I want to find for 1 cent, I will have to divide this by 100. It will be your 1 over your 100. Correct? You must divide by 100. So same for this one. If you have N cents each. If I want to change this to my dollars, means I will have to divide this by 100. Okay, N over $100. So since Chandra bought 7 stamps at N cents each, so if 1 stamp costs this much, if you have 7 stamps, okay, so I will write down. So since 1 stamp is N over $100, if you have 7 stamps, okay, it will be my 7 of this. So 7N over 100. That's the cost of your 7 stamps. But you paid with a $5 note, which means that your change, okay, will be your $5 minus of your fraction 7N over 100. So that's the answer for question number 5. Okay, 5 minus 7N over 100. Okay, can I choose to combine as a single fraction? Yes, it's possible. So alternative answers, you can also choose to combine your denominator. Alternative answers, you can also have dollar sign. If you combine this, means you get 500 for your numerator minus your 7N over 100. So this is another possible solution for question number 5. Okay? Okay, let's move on. So we'll skip question 6, 7. Okay, let's move on to question number 8. So this one is on your ratio. Okay, figure 1 shows a rectangular piece of paper. The ratio of its length to its breadth is 4:3. So I will cut down first. My length is 4 units. My breadth here is 3 units. Now in figure 2, the piece of paper is folded and cut along the dotted line. So this is my dotted line. You cut along this dotted line. Now figure 3 shows the cutout C and the remaining area of your paper R. So you realize that this area R is actually a square. Okay, so what is the ratio of the length to the breadth of C? Now remember, this side of your rectangle remains as 3 units. There's no change. This part here, okay, how do you find out what is the breadth of your C? So if I look at this is a square, means that my side will be a 3 units by a 3 units. So since my total length at first is 4 units, if I take 4 minus my 3 for the square, means the breadth of my rectangle C must be 1 unit. So the ratio for the length to the breadth of C is 3:1. 3 for the length and 1 for the breadth. Okay, now for part B, what percentage of the area of C is the area of R? Means your question wants you to find your area of R over area of C times your 100% because you want percentage. So how do you find the ratio for area of C and R? Okay, so let's record down first. I want to find the ratio for the area of these two figures. So for my C, if I want to find the area, it will be my length times breadth. So I will take 3 times 1. For my R, the length and breadth is the same because it's a square. So I get 3 times 3. Okay, so if I simplify this ratio, you get C3 and you get your R to be 9. If you simplify this further, the ratio will be 1:3. In other words, the area of R is 3 times the area of C. So if I want to find my percentage, I will take my R, 3/1 times by 100%. Okay, so that will give us 300%. So my answer for this will be 300%. Okay. Let's move on to question number 9. Now, Ella wrote a composition in 45 minutes. Fandi completed his composition 5 minutes faster than Ella. Ella wrote an average of 24 words per minute. Their compositions had a total of 2,000 words. So what was the average number of words Fandi wrote per minute? Okay. So Ella wrote her composition in 45 minutes and you're given the average. So I am given the total time taken for Ella and you're also given the average number of words per minute for Ella. So I can find first the total that Ella wrote, the total number of words. So Ella's speed is 24 per minute. And since I wrote for 45 minutes, you can find her total words. Okay, so total words for Ella will be my 24 times by 45. So this will give us 1,080 words. Okay, now Fandi completed his composition 5 minutes faster than Ella. So if I want to find out the words that Fandi wrote, okay, so this 1,080 is what was being written by Ella in the 45 minutes. But because Fandi completed faster, you can find out the extra words that Fandi wrote. So I will take my 2,000 words. Okay, my total words in the composition, I minus off the words that Ella wrote, the 1,080. So I will get my 920 words. So this is the extra words that Fandi actually wrote for this composition than Ella. Okay, so Fandi completed his composition 5 minutes faster than Ella. Means that if Ella completed the composition in 45 minutes, Fandi would have completed in 40 minutes. So Fandi took, okay, so 45 minutes. I minus off 5 minutes, right? Means that he took 40 minutes. So this 40 minutes is the one that Fandi took to write 920 words. Okay, so how do you find the average number of words that Fandi wrote per minute? So I will now want to find my average. I take my 920 words. I divide by 40 minutes. So I will get my 23. Okay, so Fandi wrote 23 words per minute. Okay, question number 10. Now, Glenn was 40 meters away from home. He and his brother John were 10 meters apart when they started running home at the same time. Glenn ran at an average speed of 5 meters per second. So Glenn's speed is 5 m per second. Okay. And then John's speed is 8 meters per second. Now, what was the distance between the brothers when one of them reached home first? Okay, so we have to find out which brother reached the home first. So if I look at the time for Glenn, okay, so let's look at the time for Glenn. Now, Glenn, right, he has to run 40 meters and he's given at this speed 5 meters per second. So if I want to find the time taken for Glenn to reach his home, I will take 40 divided by 5. Your distance divided by your speed. So I will take 8 seconds. Okay. Now if I look at John, so John needs to run a further distance, right? So the time for John, he has to run 50 meters. 10 plus your 40, he's 50 meters. But because his speed is actually greater, I will divide this by 8. So 50 divided by 8, I will get 6.25 seconds. Which means that John will reach home first. Correct? Okay, because he took lesser time to reach home. So you want to find the distance between the brothers when John reached home. So if John is over here, okay, you need to find out the distance that Glenn has ran at 6.25 seconds. Okay, so how to find the distance that Glenn has ran? I take my 6.25, I multiply by his speed of 5 meters. So it means that he has run for 31.25 meters. Okay, so from here, Glenn has walked a distance of 31.25 meters. And then the brother is already at the home. So if I want to find the distance apart, I will subtract off from my 40 meters. So 40 meters minus of my 31.25, I will get my distance apart between these two brothers. So that will be 8.75 meters. Okay? Okay, let's move on to question 11. So question 11 shows a line graph. Now the line graph shows the amount of water left in the water dispenser at the start of each day from day 1 to 7. So please be very careful. This one is actually showing your line graph and it's at the start of each day. Okay, because you might get confused with the questions later on. So first thing when you encounter your line graph is we try to find your data points. Okay. So how do I look at my data? First thing is to see your intervals. So if I'm going from 0, if I'm looking at the vertical axis, okay, the vertical side that's showing the amount of water. Now this is 0 and this is 4. Now let's count the gaps from 0 to 4. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 gaps or 8 intervals. Okay, there's 8 intervals over here. So if your 8 intervals equals to your 4 liters, how do I find for one interval? I will divide by 8. Okay, so 4 liters divide by 8 intervals, I'll get 0.5 liters. Means every one gap increases by 0.5. So that's the first thing you have to bear in mind before you jump straight to find your data points. Okay? So if I look at the first data point for day 1, it's 2 intervals below my 20, which gives us a 19. Okay, then the second one is 16.5, 17. The third one, this is 12. So 12.5, 13, 13.5, 14. Okay, then your day 4. So you have 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, and 10. Now day 5, it's 5 because it's 4 over here, plus your 4.5 and then 5. And then finally your, sorry, there's 2 more data points. Okay, so for day 6 is actually 2 intervals below your number 4. So this is 3. And then your day 7, the last one is your 0.5. So it's good to record your data points first before you jump straight to the questions. Okay, so let's move on to the questions. Now for part A, how much water is left in the container at the end of day 6? Okay, you must be very careful. You are asking for the water left at the end of day 6. Okay, not at the start of day 6. At the start, I will look at the data point 6. But because they say at the end, means it must be at the start of your day 7. Okay, means at the start of your day 7. So if I look at my day 7, at the start is your 0.5 liters. So that's the answer for part A. Now for part B, the amount of water dispensed for 2 days was the same. Which were the 2 days? Okay, so how do you find the water you dispense out? You have to compare at the start of each day. So I'm looking at the decrease, the increase, the decrease. Okay, so from day 1 to day 2, if I look at the drop in the water dispensed, means I took out 2 liters. 17 to 14, 3 liters. 14 to 10, 4 liters. 10 to 5, 2 liters. Sorry, 5 liters. Okay, the drop is 5 liters. 5 to 3, 2 liters. 3 to 0.5, 2.5 liters. So if I want to find which 2 days dispense the same amount of water, it must be between my day 1 to day 2 and my day 5 to 6. So which are the 2 days? Your day 1 and day 5. Okay, so this and this one. Here, day 1 and day 5. Change this back to my red. Now, 11C, what was the amount of water? What was the average amount of water dispensed from the start of day 1 to the end of day 5? Okay, so the amount of water you dispense out, you have to minus. So from 19 liters is at day 1. At the day 5, you are left with 3 liters. Okay, at the end of day 5 means must be the start of my day 6. So 19 minus 3 means I dispense out 16 liters of water across 5 days. So if I want to find my average, I will take 16 divide by 5. I get my 3.2 liters. Okay? Okay, let's move on to question number 12. So for question 12, in the figure, STU is a triangle. F, G, and H are points on your triangle. SF equals to SG. So let's annotate your diagram. These 2 sides are the same. and UF equals to UH. So UF and UH are the same. So angle HFS, so HFS, okay, this angle here is 104 degrees. Angle UFG is 106 degrees. So find angle STU. So this is the angle we're looking for. Okay. So first thing is you look at the information. I can easily find this angle. Alright, how do I find this angle? By taking my 180 minus my 106. So angle SFG is my 180 degrees minus my 106 degrees. So I will get 74 degrees. And then because of these two sides are the same, means that my angle SGF is also 74 degrees. It's an isosceles triangle. So I can find my angle GSF. Okay, so I take my 180 minus 74 minus 74. So I get my angle GSF 32 degrees. Now do the same thing for the right triangle. So for triangle HFU, now same idea. Let's find this angle first. How to find this angle? Maybe I use another color. So I want to find angle HFU. Okay, by taking my, let me use back my red. (180) minus of my 104 degrees. So angle HFU will be 76 degrees. So I know that this must also be 76 degrees because your triangle HFU is also an isosceles triangle. Okay, so once I get my angle HFU, I can find angle HUF. So I take my 180 minus of my 76 degrees minus of another 76 degrees. I get 28 degrees for angle HUF. So once I know these two angles, okay, inside my triangle, I can find angle STU. So angle STU is your 180 degrees minus of my 32 minus of my 28. So I get my answer 120 degrees. Okay. Okay, question 12b. Let's move on to this one. So in the figure not drawn to scale, ACOB is a rhombus, and then CDEF is a parallelogram. So means that this must be parallel to this, must be parallel to this, and then this is parallel to this side. Okay, and then because this is a parallelogram, means that your FE and your CD are also parallel to each other. Okay, so let's go to the questions. Now, each of the statements below is either true, false, or not possible to tell from the information given. Now, for each statement, put a tick to indicate your answer. So for the first part I, angle ABO is twice of angle OFE. Now, is this true? This angle is twice of this angle. So if I look at this diagram, you realize that this angle ABO is the same as my angle COE. I know for sure that my angle ABO is equals to angle COE because of your corresponding angles. Correct, whereby your BA is parallel to your OC. Correct. So maybe if I use my highlighter, this and this, they are the same. Okay, your COE. Okay, hold on. My Microsoft Edge is not responding. So these two angles, they are the same. But there's no way to tell that this angle OFE is half of this angle. There's not enough information given to tell me that. Okay, so in other words, right, it's not possible to tell. If I just highlight again this angle. Okay, same for your statement II, angle ACD. So this angle here, is it the same as angle BOF? Okay, is it possible to tell whether these two angles are the same? Again, there's not enough information because I only know that my angle ABO is the same as angle ACO. These two angles and this angle my angle COE, yes, they are the same, but it's not possible to tell that these two angles are equal. So again, it's also not possible to tell for the second one. Okay, now if you observe this parallelogram, you will realize that your angle OFE, this angle here, and your angle OCD, this angle here, is also not fixed. Okay, so these two angles, since they are not fixed, right, they can change to any value as long as your CD remains parallel to your FE. So that's why your question 12B, both statements are not possible to tell. Okay? Okay, let's move on. I will skip question number 13. I think it's quite okay. Okay, question 14 is also okay. It's quite straightforward to find the money collected. Okay, let's move on to question number 15. Okay, question 15. The figure shows the start of an 11 km road with white lane markings. Now, one fully painted white lane marking is 3 meters long. It is as long as the distance between two fully painted white lane markings. In other words, okay, this 3 meters here, the distance of the white lane is the same as the interval, the gap between your two white markings. So part A, find the maximum number of fully painted white lane markings. Okay, how do you find this? Now, before you can find the number of your white lane markings, you look at the distance of the road. This is 11 km. Your marking is 3 meters long. So change this to the same units. So 11 km. If I want to change this to meters, I will have to times by 1000. Okay, so 11 times 1000, I get 11,000 meters. That's the whole stretch of the road. Now let's group your white lane and your one white marking and your interval as your one group. Okay, so let's group this way. This is my one group. So your one group consists of one white lane marking. Okay, one white marking plus your one interval, one gap. So if I want to find the distance for my one group, okay, I will have to plus. So 3 meters plus my 3 meters means that my one group is 6m. Okay, so how do you find the number of groups? 11,000 meters. I divide by 6. So 11 divided by 6 I will get my answer 1,833 groups and then remainder of 2 meters. So you must be very clear of your remainder 2. This is not 2 markings. This is the remainder of 2 meters. Okay, so the maximum number of fully painted white lane markings is 1,833. Now for part B, what is the length of the last white lane marking that is not fully painted? So they're referring to these 2 meters. Means I will have 1,833 white lane markings, right? Markings. And then the last one, I will have to paint. So this one is only 2 meters long. Okay? So my answer for part D is 2m. Now for part C, what fraction of a fully painted white lane marking is the last white lane marking? So since you're only painting 2 meters out of 3 meters, my fraction is 2 out of 3. So that's the answer for question part C. Okay. Now question number 16. I will also go through this question. So a baker made 2 to 5 fewer cheese buns than kaya buns. He sold half of the cheese buns and 7/9 of the kaya buns. There were 1 to 8 buns left in the end. So how many buns did he sell? So I will draw my model first. My cheese buns and my kaya buns. So draw such that your cheese bun is fewer by 225. Okay, so something like this. This part here is my 2 to 5. So if I sell half of the cheese buns, I will cut these into 2. My kaya buns, I will cut these into 9 parts. Okay, so I will attempt to cut these nicely. Okay, there's 9 parts over here. So I will shade off half of the cheese buns. So this is shaded. And then for the kaya buns, I must shade off 7 units. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7/9 of the kaya buns. Now remember to also shade off 7/9 of your this quantity part. So find out what is 7/9 of your 225. Okay, so 7/9 of 225, get 175 kaya buns. So maybe I use blue. Then I will shade this off in red. And then find the remaining for this quantity part. So 225, I minus off my 175. You're left with 50 kaya buns over here. So it's important when you're given such a question whereby there is a difference in the quantity between 2 objects. Do not try to cut your kaya, the whole thing, into 9 parts. It's very confusing. Okay, so this unshaded part is my 50. Okay, now for the cheese buns, you realize that if you want to compare the number of buns later, you must ensure that the number of units are equivalent for the first part. This part for the kaya, and this part for the, this part for the cheese bun, and this portion of the kaya, it has to have the same number of units because it's the same size. Okay, it's equivalent. But you notice that the cheese buns, there's 2 big units. The kaya buns, there's 9 small units. Okay, so what you can do to the cheese buns, you take this as your 9 units, and then you cut this into 2, which means that you're left with 4.5 units for each. Let me erase off. So this is your 4.5 units. And then this is also your 4 6.5 units. Okay, so now you will have to rewrite our equation. So you're left with 4.5 cheese buns at the end. While kaya buns, you're left with 2 units, the unshaded part, plus your 50 kaya buns over here. So 4.5 plus 2 units plus your 50 equals to your 128, given in the question. So we'll solve this. I add my 4.5 plus my 2 units, I get 6.5u. I plus my 50, I get my 128. So how do you find for 6.5u? Okay, so if I want to find this one, I need to take my 128 minus my 50. It's a bit like your part and whole. Part and whole. Okay, if it's hard for you to see, use a finger, cover your 6.5u. You notice that you have to subtract off your 50 to find this part. So 6.5u is your 128 minus your 50. I will get my 78. That's for 6.5 units. And then you want to find for your 1 unit. So 1u, take your 78 divided by 6.5. I will get 12 for 1 unit. So how do you find the buns that you sell? We are looking at the shaded part. Okay, so total sold is your 4.5u plus my 7 units. Correct? And then plus your 175. Sorry, 175. So I work this out. Okay, so 4.5 plus your 7 means 11.5 units plus your 175. Straight away you multiply this by your 12. So 11.5 times 12 plus your 175. And you get your answer, 313. So you get 313 for your buns I sell altogether. Okay, let's move on to the last question for this paper. So last question 17. Now two identical wheels with centers P and Q are 264 cm apart. Figure 1 shows the wheels turn along straight line CD towards each other. So these two wheels, they are 264 cm apart and they are moving towards each other. So you see the rotation of the wheels. Now, after each wheel makes 6 complete turns, they touch each other as shown in figure 2. So after 6 complete turns from each wheel, they touch each other. Now, what is the radius of each wheel? Okay, so remember when you're doing your complete turn, we're looking at the circumference of the circle, not your area. So how do you find the circumference, or rather how many circumferences are needed? So if one wheel takes 6 turns, 2 wheels will be 12 turns. Okay, so 12 turns, in other words, there will be 12 circumferences. Okay, now your one circumference, if I want to find the distance of one circumference, I will take my 264 cm, the distance between these two wheels. I will divide this by 12 circumference. So 264 divided by 12 means that one circumference is 22 cm. So this whole circumference is 22 cm each. Okay, so use back the formula for circumference. So 2 pi r. So 2 pi r means that 2 times your pi. In this case, our pi is 22 over 7. Okay, and then you times by your radius, gives you 22. So you have to work backwards. To find for radius, I will take my 22, divide by 2, divide by my 22 over 7. So that will give me 3.5 for my radius. So my answer for part A is 3.5 cm. Now how about part B? Find the perimeter of the shaded part in figure 2. So you can use a pen, outline this perimeter first. Okay, so for me to find my diameter, this part is easy, right? This part is only 3.5 times 2. Correct, is the diameter. So this part is 7. But how do you find the curved part? You must make use of your quadrant. Okay, quadrant. So 1/4 of your circumference of a circle. So I find 1/4 of 2 pi r, or you can make use of your pi times your diameter. Okay, so 1/4 of your 22 over 7 times by your diameter. 1/4 of your 22, I get 5.5. This is for one quadrant arc. Okay, but because there's 2 arcs over here, I will have to times this by 2. So 5.5, I times 2, and then plus my 7. So I will get my 18. That's the perimeter of the shaded part. Okay, so that's all for this week's paper. Thank you for watching this video.